For weeks, the gospel music world had been caught in a storm of worry, confusion, and fear. Fans who had followed Guy Penrod for decades were checking their phones constantly, scrolling through social media pages, and leaving comments filled with prayers and concern. Something was clearly wrong, or at least, that is what the internet wanted everyone to believe. Rumors had been flying in every direction, each one more alarming than the last. Some people were saying Guy Penrod was seriously ill. Others claimed he had been rushed to a hospital. A few even suggested he was stepping away from his music ministry forever. The gospel community, a group of people known for their deep faith and their love for one another, was shaken to its core. And then, after weeks of silence, Guy Penrod finally decided to speak. He stepped forward, looked directly at the people who loved and supported him, and told them the truth. What he said did not just clear up the rumors about his own life. It opened up a much bigger and more important conversation about how false information spreads in today's world, how much damage it can do, and why every single one of us needs to be more careful about what we share and believe online. His message was not angry or bitter. It was calm, thoughtful, and deeply personal, and it reminded everyone who heard it that the truth, even when it comes late, is always more powerful than a lie. To truly understand what Guy Penrod went through, you need to go back to where everything began. About 3 weeks before he broke his silence, a single post appeared on social media. It was not a dramatic or shocking post at first glance. It did not make bold claims or use frightening language. In fact, it was written in a way that seemed almost innocent. The person who posted it simply said they had heard from a friend of a friend that Guy Penrod might be dealing with some serious health problems, and they asked if anyone else had heard anything similar. That was it. No proof, no names, no details. Just a question built on something someone had heard from someone else. But that small question was like a tiny spark dropped into a dry field. Within just 48 hours, it had been shared more than 15,000 times. Prayer chains started forming in Facebook groups. Instagram stories filled up with worried messages. YouTube comment sections became flooded with people asking if the rumors were true and begging for updates. The reason this happened so fast was not because people were trying to cause harm. Most of the people who shared that post were doing it out of genuine love and concern. They wanted to pray for Guy. They wanted to make sure the gospel community knew to support him. Their hearts were in the right place. But good intentions, as we would soon learn, are not enough to stop false information from spreading and doing serious damage to a real person's life. Here is something important to understand about how rumors work. They do not stay the same as they travel from person to person. They grow, they change. They pick up new details that nobody ever said or confirmed. What started as a vague question about Guy Penrod's health quickly became something much more specific and much more frightening. As the post passed through thousands of different hands and voices, the story began to change shape. Suddenly, people were talking about hospital visits that never actually happened. Medical diagnoses were being mentioned that were completely made up. Some people were even saying that Guy had already decided to quit his ministry and step away from gospel music entirely. None of these things were true. Not a single one of them had any basis in fact. But by the time they had traveled across the internet and reached hundreds of thousands of people, they felt real. They felt believable. And that made them incredibly hard to stop. This is the nature of misinformation in the digital age. It does not need to be true to spread. It just needs to be emotional, surprising, and connected to someone that people care about. Once those three ingredients are present, false information can travel faster than almost anyone can track or stop it. And in the tight-knit world of gospel music, where fans feel a deep personal connection to the artists and ministers they follow, those ingredients were all very much present when it came to Guy Penrod. This might surprise you, but researchers have actually studied how misinformation spreads online, and what they found is both eye-opening and deeply unsettling. Scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is one of the most respected universities in the world, looked at more than 126,000 news stories that were shared on Twitter over a period of 10 years. They studied how fast true stories spread and how fast false stories spread, and the results were shocking. False information spread 6 times faster than true information on social media. 6 times. That means a lie travels across the internet 6 times more quickly than the truth can follow it. But it gets even more troubling than that. The same study found that false stories are 70% more likely to be shared and passed along than accurate stories. And they reach their first group of 1,500 people 6 times faster than the truth does. So by the time the correct information catches up, the false version has already reached millions of people and settled into their minds as fact. Why does this happen? The answer is actually quite simple when you think about it. False information tends to be more dramatic, more emotional, and more surprising than the truth. When people see something that shocks them, something that feels urgent or alarming, their first reaction is to share it immediately. They do not stop to check if it is true. They do not look for sources or evidence. They just hit the share button because the emotion in the moment feels more important than the facts. This is human nature. It is not a sign of stupidity or bad character, but it is something we all need to be aware of, especially in a world where a single post can reach millions of people in just a few hours. It is easy to think of rumors as harmless or even a little silly. But what Guy Penrod experienced over those few weeks shows clearly that false information causes very real pain to very real people. Think about what it would feel like to wake up one morning and discover that thousands of people on the internet believe you are dying, or in a hospital, or about to disappear from public life entirely. Now imagine that your phone will not stop ringing. Family members are calling in tears, asking if you are okay, asking why you did not tell them sooner. Old friends from across the country are sending worried messages. Your own children are seeing posts online that suggest their parent is in serious trouble. Your ministry partners are reaching out, unsure whether to make future plans with you. Event venues are quietly calling your management team to ask whether they need to find someone else to perform. And through all of this, you are perfectly healthy. You are sitting in your home, completely fine, watching a story about your own life spin completely out of your control with no way to stop it. This is exactly what Guy Penrod experienced. And the pain did not stop with him. His wife saw prayer requests that made even her own family members wonder if something was being hidden from them. His grandchildren heard from their classmates at school, asking if their grandfather was going to be okay. The ripple effects of a single false social media post spread outward like rings in water, touching everyone connected to him and filling their lives with unnecessary worry, confusion, and heartache. This is the human cost of misinformation. It is not abstract, it is not theoretical, it is real, and it is heavy. One of the most interesting and painful parts of this whole situation is the reason why the rumors spread so quickly through the gospel music community specifically. It was not because gospel fans are careless or foolish. It was actually because of one of their greatest strengths, their genuine love for one another and their commitment to prayer. When someone in a faith community hears that a beloved pastor, singer, or minister might be in trouble, their immediate reaction is to pray. And because prayer is something they do together, the first step is to let others know so they can join in. So when that first post appeared asking about Guy Penrod's health, thousands of devoted fans did exactly what their faith had taught them to do. They shared the information so others could pray. They started prayer chains. They posted updates in their groups. They reached out to let people know. Their motivation was pure love and faith. But the result, without anyone intending it, was the rapid spread of false information at a scale that caused enormous harm. This is one of the most important lessons from what happened. Good intentions do not cancel out the damage caused by sharing something that is not true. You can mean well and still cause harm. You can act out of love and still spread a lie. This is why it is so important to stop, take a breath, and check the facts before hitting that share button, even when, and maybe especially when, your heart is telling you to act quickly. The desire to help is beautiful, but that desire needs to be guided by truth, not just emotion. When Guy Penrod finally decided to speak, he did not do so out of anger or frustration, even though he had every right to feel both of those things. Instead, he spoke with the kind of grace and calm that has defined his ministry for decades. He addressed the rumors directly and clearly, setting the record straight about his health and his plans for the future. But more importantly, he used his own painful experience as a teachable moment for everyone who was listening. He talked about the responsibility that comes with living in a connected world. He talked about how quickly a simple question can turn into a harmful lie when it passes through enough hands without being checked or verified. He talked about the importance of going to the source, of waiting for confirmed information before spreading a story, and of thinking carefully about the real human beings on the other side of every post and every share. He also spoke with deep compassion for the people who had shared the rumors about him. He understood why they did it. He knew that most of them were acting out of love, and he did not want them to feel ashamed or guilty. But he did want them to think more carefully in the future, not just for his sake, but for the sake of every person who might one day find themselves at the center of a similar storm. His message was simple, honest, and deeply needed, and it reminded everyone who heard it that truth, kindness, and careful thinking are not weaknesses. They are some of the most powerful tools we have. The story of what happened to Guy Penrod is not just about one man and one set of false rumors. It is about something that touches all of us, whether we are gospel music fans or not. Every single person who uses social media, which at this point means most of the world, has the power to either spread false information or stop it in its tracks. That is an enormous responsibility, and most of us do not think about it nearly enough. The next time you see a post about someone you love and respect, whether it is a musician, a pastor, a public figure, or even just a neighbor, stop before you share it. Ask yourself where the information came from. Ask whether anyone has verified it. Ask whether the person being talked about has actually said or confirmed anything. If the answers to those questions are unclear or uncertain, wait. It is always better to wait for the truth than to be the person who passed along a lie, even accidentally. And if you do share something that later turns out to be false, be willing to correct it. Post an update. Let people know the truth. Taking responsibility for what we share online is one of the most important habits we can build in today's world. Guy Penrod's story ended well. He is healthy, he is still in ministry, and he used his experience to teach and inspire others. But not every story ends that way. Some people are broken by the rumors that surround them. Some ministries are destroyed. Some families are torn apart. The damage can be permanent. So let us take the lesson that Guy offered us and carry it forward into how we live, how we share, and how we treat the real human beings on the other side of every screen. Guy Penrod has been one of gospel music's most beloved voices for decades. His story is a reminder that truth matters, people matter, and the way we use our words and our platforms, online and offline, has consequences that reach much further than we often realize.